Hello, and welcome to You Write, the podcast where creativity meets community.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Rachel.
Each week on You Write, we challenge our listeners to write a story in just 30 minutes using 3 of 5 randomly generated words.
It's a fun and fast-paced exercise to spark your imagination and get those creative juices flowing.
We'll read your submissions, offer feedback, and discuss the unique twists and turns of each story.
Whether you're an aspiring author or just love a good tale, You Write is your place to explore the endless possibilities of storytelling.
So grab your favorite number 2 fan brush, settle yourself in front of a good stretched canvas, and let's dive off into this week's stories.
And remember, the only limit is your imagination and 2,000 words.
And 2,000 words.
Let's see what you got.
And yeah, that's a soft limit. 2,000 words.
Soft limit.
Yeah.
Do you,
Just,
actually.
Yeah. If it's more, that's fine. If it's
That's
less, that's also
we
fine.
don't mind.
No,
we don't mind.
it's okay.
It's up to you. Do what you like to do. For you.
Are you going to write a story?
For this episode right now?
Yeah. Right.
I feel like I've already missed the cutoff for that. Mm-hmm. Are you?
Yes, I'm working on it right now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to have to hurry.
Okay. Spot jumped over the log.
Oh.
Spot was cute.
Oh.
And Spot was happy puppy.
Oh.
This is my story.
That's adorable. I love that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, hey, so you saw all our stories this week?
I did.
Yeah.
That I did.
I have a feeling this is a rather daunting challenge.
Yes.
Because it seems like turnout's a little lower than it has been.
It is. I think that I don't know, but I honestly think it's because people are somehow liberated by the structure of 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, just the fact that it's like, well, it's 30 minutes, I'm done now.
Yeah. So
yes,
you don't
I'll post it.
right. And
Yeah.
you don't have to feel this pressure to come out with something like polished and perfect because you're like, well, I only had 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Less open-ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good way to mix it up. And I also think that people might be happy when we go back to the 30 minutes.
Yeah.
After Novel Bember.
Novel Bember, yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I keep thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to this. I'm gonna write a story and I'm gonna like continue this one thing, and I sit down and I'm just overwhelmed by the idea, and then I get busy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there have been occasions I want to write something. I really do, and I have ideas for stuff. It's just getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, not being limited by the amount of time.
Yep.
Really does make that tough to commit yourself to getting started.
Because when I'm like, okay, I just have 30 minutes, I can definitely devote 30 minutes to this.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. So mad kudos to everybody out there who is submitting us these long stories.
Yes.
Yes.
These long form Bember stories.
Bember stories.
Yes. Lovely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that in mind, who are we reading this week?
I think that this week we have chosen to read
The Faux Rex Incident,
Yes.
Part 1.
Yes.
By NickedYou.
Right. Yes. So,
do you want to read it or you want me to read it?
Whatever you want. What do you want?
I want you to decide.
Oh my God. You know what? I'll read it.
Okay.
I'll take it on. Take me on.
Isn't it Take On Me?
Right. Take on me. But that's not even the tune.
Take on me.
Take on me.
Take me on.
Take on me.
I'll be gone in a day or two. Such compelling audio.
That's great. Okay. Here we go. The Faux Rex Incident, Part 1 by NickedYou. This is the infamous Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is Latin for Tyrant Lizard King, and he was the apex predator of the Cretaceous period. He stood 20 feet tall, as you can see. If you look here, the guide held up some illustrations, you will see some ideas of what they looked like in life. As you might have heard, we now believe that dinosaurs had feathers. I raised my hand. The guide glanced past me before pointing at me and saying, "Yes." "What were the arms for?" I tried looking it up, but didn't get a clear answer. "Well, it is a matter of debate," she said, "so I can believe you got a lot of conflicting information. There was an idea popular among some circles that their arms were used for mating rituals, like some species of snakes." I heard one girl whisper under her breath, "Snakes have arms?" However, despite the size of their arms compared to their body, you will note that they were still quite intimidating. If he had to use his claws, he could do plenty of damage. So many scientists still think that a T-Rex's arms were used in combat, even if their teeth were their first option. Any more questions? "If T-Rex had feathers, why couldn't they fly?" one boy accused. The guide had to stop a moment and look at the teacher, Miss Inez. Miss Inez just shook her head. I just tuned out the explanation. I wished I had gotten a definitive answer, but maybe the guide wasn't that much better off than me. This tour was just supposed to keep a field trip interested. I tried to imagine the towering skeleton before me alive and covered in soft blue feathers like the illustration. How would it blend in with anything? Trees hadn't changed color from blue to green as far as I was aware. I saw Hannah watching with a bored look and I smiled. She had worn a really cute dinosaur hoodie today for the trip. The alarm sounded for an incoming incursion, and the guide went rigid for a second before saying, "Okay, if you will all follow me to the safe room, please." My fantastic armaments began to form around me, and I pulled an axe out, even as I walked, keeping my eye out for any trouble. "Please don't try to fight anything," the guide said quickly. We were picking up the pace, not a full-out run, but keeping up with most of the adults. "She's in a club," Miss Inez said. "Oh," the guide said absently. The walls of the museum were changing from white to deep brown and speckled with red, and the lights were going dim. From the ceiling, purple vines began to descend. Distortions in the terrain meant this was some kind of special event, which was never good. Hannah was leading the group forwards. She was quicker than I was. "Can we expect help from museum security?" I asked the guide. "They're mostly good at a fighting retreat," the guide said between breaths. I heard a roar, one that sounded like something from an old movie, followed by loud, thudding footsteps that shook the ground. The footsteps got faster as the monster approached. "T-Rex incoming!" I called to Hannah. I kind of wished right now that I had an actual polearm, but 4 weapons was already a stretch to have on me. The T-Rex rounded the corner. It was covered in black and white stripe and dark green spikes protruding from its skin, but kept the hollow eye of a skeleton. It hadn't changed height, but when it was actually walking around, it felt a lot taller. I threw an axe directly at it. I felt a little bit of pride at how the axe swung perfectly against its throat, rather than smacking the monster with the handle. But as the axe was recalled, I saw that the cut it had made was shallow. The thing was tough, and I didn't have a lot of raw power. "Oh, that's not good," Hannah said, as she appeared at my side in golden armor. The monster was gaining speed even as we edged away. "Are we good to stand and fight?" I asked. I didn't dare take my eyes off the thing as I threw more axes. "We can stall for a minute before running," she said. "How are you feeling about distracting it, trying some kiting?" "Leaving you to get up close by yourself?" I questioned. The monster was getting closer. "No choice," she said, and she bolted forwards in a flash. I darted to the side and threw 2 axes at once. I noticed the monster's spikes, teeth, and claws looked stony now that it was closer. "I think it's got an earth theme," I called out as I ran. Hannah went underneath the monster, and it hesitated, choosing between targets. "Noted," she said as she slashed a foot, trying to limit its mobility. My heart jumped as it took a step closer to me, practically over Hannah. She could get taken out in one hit if she got stepped on. We both had 1-ups, but those were expensive to use up. Plus, dying sucked. I threw axes as fast as I could, but I was practically dealing chip damage. Hannah was dealing more damage and faster, golden flashes as her sword cut at the feet, trying to sever a tendon. It was never a guarantee for a monster to have anatomical weak points, and if this was a special event, that was even less likely. I threw all my axes at once to deal a burst of damage and keep it focused on me instead of Hannah. It seemed to work, as it seemed to make up its mind and gain speed. I was reaching the far end of a room that I think was the Precambrian exit, and I juked left, then went right instead, hoping it would suck at taking corners. I headed back where the T-Rex's exhibit had originally been. I looked behind me as I ran full tilt and saw the monster had indeed had to slow down and be more careful taking the corner. As I ran towards the pedestal that the skeleton had originally been on, more and more purple vines hung down, and I had to brush them aside as I ran. I looked behind, and the monster was gaining. I needed to call it something better. Faux Rex was fitting. I saw it stagger a bit at a small flash of gold, in a way that it hadn't when I'd thrown all my axes at once. I think the Faux Rex might have resistance to normal attacks, I called. My axes had returned to me by now, so I readied another to throw. I glimpsed Hannah trailing behind the Faux Rex and could just barely hear her call, "Keep kiting!" "I'll kite it to the right, then run to the left and swing back around." I threw my axes as fast as I could, but the last got caught on a vine I hadn't seen. I descended further into the thicker vines. I hoped that it would slow the Faux Rex down more than me. I looked behind, and it did seem to be working. I reached the pedestal where there were less vines at my own level, but still plenty at the monster's height. The Faux Rex roared, loud, and I felt like my bones were shaking, and I stumbled. Behind me, a massive crevice opened in the ground, and I scrambled away from the edge towards the approaching monster. I couldn't make the jump on my own power. I decided to try swinging around the edge of it instead. The vines weren't very thick there, so I shouldn't get caught. When I started running, I thought I could feel its breath hot on my skin. I ran between the pedestal and the crevice as fast as I could. I could imagine the teeth like spears pointed at me. I grabbed a vine and swung off the ledge. At first, I thought I'd really messed up. As I dropped into the crevice, the vine slackened my hands. But it did go taut, and as I scrambled against the wall, I began to speed up. I laughed, but the vine jerked me very quickly upwards. It must have been caught on another vine somewhere. I went up, and the Faux Rex was close enough I could spit on it. I saw Hannah's eyes wide with fear as it lunged at me. I didn't need to imagine the teeth this time. But I kept going up and at an angle, and I tucked my legs and it missed me and started to pass under me. I grinned. It was from relief. It was because my gamble had gone wrong and still paid off. And it was because the Faux Rex had overextended. I drew my katana with water rushing over its surface. 9 out of 10 times, water beat rock. I fell towards the recovering monster and minded the spikes, looking more carefully at the vines around me this time. I saw that one was taut, and I grabbed it to break my fall and swing to the side before dropping onto the monster's back. I slashed as quick as I could, and the katana cut deep. I staggered as the Faux Rex roared and moved beneath me in an attempt to throw me off, holding onto a nearby spike for support. "Knee!" Hannah called. "Run now!" I screamed as I kept slashing. "I can swing from here!" I saw a gap in the vines and started to walk across the monster's back. It turned and jerked, and teeth passed a couple of feet from me. It wasn't flexible enough to bite me back here. As it still tried to bite me from one side, I jumped off on the other side towards the gap in the vines and grabbed onto one nearby. I swung across the crevice with wind blowing my hair and grabbed more vines to control my descent down and forwards. The Faux Rex was eyeing me, with Hannah nowhere in sight. I noticed a lot of blood at its feet, and it looked to be moving with a limp. It tried to lunge at me as I got up, but it couldn't clear the crevice it had made. I stumbled for a moment, and I realized my legs were shaking. I took some deep breaths and calmed myself just for a moment. That was when the Faux Rex roared again, and the crevice began to close. I picked myself up, steadied my legs, and ran, weaving past the vines and rounding a corner. It was a short distance to the next turn, and as I looked behind me, the monster hadn't rounded the first corner as I rounded the next. That should mean I had lost it. As I ran back the way we had originally gone, far fewer vines in my way, I felt my breathing grow ragged, but I saw the Faux Rex's tail still sticking out from the original room. I cried a bit. I'd gotten away, even if it was touch and go. I felt my heart rate pick up again when I saw Hannah. She cut the head off of some kind of raptor. "Hannah!" I called in a hoarse shout. She glanced back to me and gestured me to approach. "You good, Nee?" she asked, putting an arm around me. "More or less," I laughed. "This way is clear, I think, so let's go." We fled back towards our class together. I kept an eye out, but I leaned into the contact and tried to return the support she was giving me.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a action-packed tale that we got.
Yes.
Yes.
Very action-packed.
Very action-packed. I like this. Coming off of Nick's story last week, this is very comprehensible and it's a lot of fun. And
very fun.
It is very fun. And it just does a lot of world building without directly addressing it.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is going on here?
Well, I think they're in a video game. They're video game characters.
Yeah, it very much comes across like a video game.
Uh-huh.
So either, they're video game characters or they're just inhabiting some sort of video game world.
Yeah.
Have you read or seen Ready Player One?
No.
It's a book by Ernest Cline that was adapted into a movie by Steven Spielberg. So it's a big movie.
Okay.
But this is certainly giving me Ready Player One vibes. The idea is that they go to class and work and have fun, and just general entertainment in this video game.
Yeah.
And it's all virtual reality, like hyper immersive and everything.
Interesting. So the going to school is also in the video game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like free public school inside this world. Like, what's it called? The Oasis?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So I was getting a lot of that here. And especially if you've seen the movie, like there is literally a T-Rex in the movie during a car race. So I just couldn't help but make the comparison.
Yeah, totally. At the very first, when the T-Rex came alive, it reminded me of Night at the Museum.
Yeah,
but then it became more video game-ish.
Yeah. And I guess we're to assume that this incursion, like the way it was described as some sort of special event, maybe this is like, oh, now this museum is a PvP zone and you can start fighting, and all of a sudden, which kind of explains why nobody was really surprised by this.
Yeah.
Just calling it a special event, and that our our point of view character is in some club that would give them a reason to fight.
Well, that part I was like, wait, what? Like a gamer club or what?
Yeah. It's a fascinating world.
It is.
That really wants more detail.
Yes, but there was a lot of detail still.
There's a lot of detail, but just like clarification maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
More background.
Yeah. Some of the mechanics of this world, like how are we here?
But sometimes whenever a story starts out like this, like for example, if this were like the first chapter of a book or something, it's kind of exciting when you don't know exactly what's going on or why.
Oh yeah, the lack of information acts as its own hook because you have all this intrigue.
Because you're like, what is this? Who are these people?
Yeah, the more questions you start asking, the more you want answers for those questions.
Yes.
And the more likely you are to get to a question that engages your reader too. Yeah. Exactly.
I really liked the part where it's like dying sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it does.
And despite even that kind of nonchalance around dying, it still feels like there's some real stakes. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm going to die, whatever, you know. It feels like, and even just labeling it dying sucks. Like there's some real stakes to dying. We're not sure again,
because who knows how many lives these people have.
Right. They have 1-ups, but they're really expensive. And I'd be curious to know, like, what happens if they run out of 1-ups and they die. Is this the Matrix? Like,
is it?
Is it?
Is it, though?
Is it the Matrix?
I don't know.
Yeah, just generally very intriguing.
Very intriguing.
And I like the dinosaur, or the T-Rex, has an earth theme, that these various elements are meant to combat specifically themed baddies. So in this case, earth.
So there's earth, water, and stone.
Well, I would imagine stone is earth. So like earth, water, fire, air.
Yeah.
Or we could just say earth, wind, and fire. Can we say that?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Earth, wind, and fire. Yeah.
And also water. Yeah.
Right. Earth, wind, and fire, and water.
Earth and wind and fire and water. Yeah.
Earth, wind, water, and fire.
Yeah.
Earth, wind, water, and fire.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also like faux Rex.
Yeah, faux Rex.
Cute.
I was wondering if Nee was gonna shout out to the T-Rex. It's like, come here, faux Rex, and it becomes enraged. That's not my name. Yeah. That was fun. And I guess just Nee and Hannah are just really good friends and classmates, clearly. So,
sounds like it.
Yeah.
I found the name Nee interesting.
Very interesting.
So I actually have a student named Nee, but it's NGHI, and she's Vietnamese. But this Nee, I was like, is that significant in some way? Does that signify something, or is that just a name?
Yeah, the first time that we get the name, it's called out. Nee, Hannah called. I was so confused. As like Nee, the faux Rex, like use your knee and knee it.
Use your knee, knee it in the face.
So, and that was clarified well at the end. It's like, you good, Nee? She asked, putting an arm around me. It's like, okay,
that's her name.
It's her name. So,
yes.
Yeah, fascinating name, especially when you have Hannah.
That's a very normal name.
Very normal, very straightforward name. Yeah, and then Nee makes me wonder if it's short for something.
Yeah.
Or maybe a nickname.
And Matt, I think that you did mention this in the notes, but like putting more detail on the golden armor of Hannah would be cool. Like a more clear mental picture of how it looked would be cool.
Yeah, and also the way as the axe was recalled, we get just that very brief description of what happens after Nee throws an axe, and so it's recalled. I would like more description there as well, just to give us a clear mental image, because it being recalled, does it fly back like Thor's hammer? Does it dissolve into mist and then it reappears in your inventory? Like I feel like those are all little intriguing details.
Does it come back like a boomerang?
Yeah. I just think that would be a really cool place to continue to hook us and make us start asking more questions and leave us even more confused as far as like this setting, which I think in this story, I think adding some confusion about the setting and the world will just lead to more questions that we're more interested to learn about. So it'll really hook us that way. So
totally. Very enjoyable read.
Yeah. Hooked through and through. Lovely story, NickedYou. Thank you.
Very lovely.
So up next, we have The Evolution of Religion Part 2 by Steve Livingroom. Yes.
So this is Part 2. Yes. And what were your thoughts about this?
Doesn't really feel like a Part 2. Feels like just a straight continuation from last week, especially because it seems like we pick up directly from where we left off, which I suppose if we're asking for 2,000 word limit, it just happened to be broken up this way. So I have a feeling that Steve probably wrote all of this together and had to break it up across a couple weeks because it was really long. Which again, 2,000 words, it's a soft limit. If you want to give us some more, that's absolutely fine. Don't feel entirely constrained by that, but if you want a limitation, 2,000 words. But yeah, as far as a part 2, it doesn't really feel like a part 2. Beyond that, I would say it feels like more of what we had before, with a little bit more insight as to where Silas came from. A
little bit of background.
Yeah,
about his parents and whatnot. His schooling.
What did you think of this?
I thought that it was kind of saying the same, like you said, a continuation. And I felt that instead of saying things wrong with religion, well, he did say some things wrong, but he seemed to be very, very also positive about church. I'm trying to like separate the church and the religion here, because Matt did point out to me that he didn't seem to say anything positive about religion, just about his church. So he seems to really love his church life, Silas. He loves his priest, or what do they call him? A reverend? Yeah, Reverend Bobby. He loves his reverend. He loves the people there. He loves the community. So it seems to be more of a positive for me than a negative. Well, also, Silas says a lot of positive things about faith. He said that's the best part of church, not even the community, faith. Being able to let go of control of your life and let God drive. So taking aside the word religion itself, Silas seems to be very happy about church life.
Okay.
About his faith and his community and his reverend and things like that. So it made me ask myself, if his reverend and church community are so great, what kind of, confusion is he having in his mind about religion? Is it religion outside of his church that he's critical of or confused about, skeptical, cynical about? Is it religion outside of his church? Because it seems that inside of his church, he's pretty content with it.
Yeah, I'm curious where the cynicism stems from.
Right.
At least the cynicism that we got from last week.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe cynicism isn't even the right word. Maybe just this critical view that he's taken on Christianity, it seems specifically. Well, Christianity was certainly called out, but it was even addressing like Buddhism and it wasn't just addressing one church or one religion in particular. And yeah, I'm curious where last week's message, Silas's quote unquote sermon, as we'll call it, I'm curious where that came from. It sounds like it could be some form of trauma, like something happened, or maybe it's just the way other people express their faith and religion outside of his church, and just viewing the public's expression of their religion and faith and the way that it's brought maybe in media. We don't get that explicitly, but it could be something like that.
Yeah, I think as far as I think that Matt mentioned last week having some type of conflict. I feel like we don't see that yet because, like I said, he's very content and positive about his own church. He's also seems to really be liking Reverend Gurma. So we don't see any of these negative church people that he says that he's confused about.
Yeah, and he also seems to be pretty critical of himself, especially in this moment. He realized that he kind of ate up all of the time that they were having on this coffee break with Reverend Gurma and his crew. He realized that he kind of like hogged the whole conversation to himself, and he was kind of a little critical of himself, at least internally, thinking back on that. And so, if anything, in the moment, Silas seems more critical of himself than anybody else around him.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, in the moment, we don't really have much conflict, but there's a lot of internal conflict to Silas that we're not sure where that's stemming from.
Right. And he even talks very positively about more church people, Coach Zeke.
Yeah.
That's great. He's like, he encouraged me. He's amazing. And he's a great role model and a big part of our church family. So the main confusion for me is, where is this conflict coming from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it seems that all of the church people he has mentioned and been engaged with, being Reverend Gurma, he likes them.
Yeah, it seems he's very fond of his community, his church community. And it seems more of his complaints, his criticisms are of the teachings of, let's just call it organized Christianity. And just I guess the way that it's prescribed, maybe like the way that he discussed sin last time, and how it's basically about you can do whatever you want so long as you confess before God, you will be fine. And it's not promoting positive, healthy behavior and trying to just do the right thing. It's just promoting being open and clear with God, and not necessarily with your community, with your neighbors and your actions as a member of society. That's kind of the part of the message that I took from last week's. And then here today, or I say today, here on this entry, we get more of the community that he was with in his church. And they're lovely people. They sound like wonderful people.
They sound great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a little confused, and I have a feeling there's both more before what we've read for these entries and more to follow.
Yes.
I assume. So hopefully we get some clarity as far as some of the driving forces for why Silas is here.
Right.
Why he is having such a crisis of faith.
Right. Where's the crisis coming from?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what Reverend Gurma's role is in all of this.
Yes.
Because we've set him up to be a central character, and we've gotten very little of Reverend Gurma.
Yeah. So far, he just seems to be like a supporting character.
Yeah.
Who's there to kind of like give a pedestal,
Yeah.
a lectern, if we want to go with the church theme.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we do.
We do. To Silas.
Yeah.
A voice, letting Silas have a voice to voice his opinions. And up until this point, it seems to me that Silas hasn't. I first thought that Silas was seeking some type of wisdom from Reverend Gurma, but now throughout this episode and the previous one, it seems that Silas almost traveled to Ethiopia to tell Reverend Gurma about his own faith.
Yeah.
Or not knowing that Reverend Gurma would be there, but that he traveled to Ethiopia to like talk about his faith to people.
Do you think it could be maybe a form of shame? Silas may feel ashamed of the way that he feels, and so he ran away from his own community to express this shame in the furthest place that he could go. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Yeah. Is he expressing shame? Because it sounds to me that he is just being like, hey, faith is awesome. I love my church family. You know, it's amazing. It almost sounds like he's trying to convert Reverend Gurma. Is what it kind of seems like to me.
To what?
I know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like, does he maybe, I don't know what kind of, Christian Silas is, but I'm assuming that Reverend Gurma is
Orthodox.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm about to have that crisis again where I can't remember that word. I'm assuming Reverend Gurma is Orthodox. I don't know. So is Silas Catholic or Protestant? And he's trying to talk to some Orthodox people and be like, hey, this is why I am Catholic or Protestant. This is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Not only is it possible, I think it is very possible, even probable.
Mm-hmm.
I personally could take it a step further and say that if Silas is having a crisis of faith, he could be entertaining a form of atheism, and he doesn't know any kind of community outside of his church and is struggling with what to do with that crisis of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he was struggling with his faith and his religion and is starting to not see it as something for him, that's all his friends, his community, his family, like his found family. And so what do you do with that crisis of faith? Sounds like he's running away from something, which is why he is in Ethiopia, or possibly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of circumstance to this story that is very unclear, but the way that he comes back to his love of his faith at the end, I really don't think that it's anything that he's losing his faith. Instead, he's losing confidence in the establishment, maybe. So.
Maybe. We'll see.
We will indeed see.
I'm just really curious to see where this is going to go. Like, when are we going to unveil the crisis?
Yeah.
And what is it going to look like?
Yeah. If it is some sort of crisis, by him being in Ethiopia, it almost has to be some kind of crisis, I feel like.
Or he just wanted a vacation.
It could be, there could be circumstances that put him in Ethiopia outside of this context. Like there's so many reasons he could be there. So yeah, why is Silas in Ethiopia?
Yeah.
And where is Silas like actually from? Did we ever learn that?
No.
We're assuming he's American.
Just because we're American.
And I believe Steve is American as well.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? He's actually from, Antarctica.
Could be. Is anybody from Antarctica?
I don't know if any Antarctic natives out there. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We're curious to know.
No, we haven't had any downloads in Antarctica, so
not yet.
Not yet. We haven't. Yeah.
Yeah. It almost to me even seems that Silas is going on a Hajj, so to speak, a pilgrimage. To the Holy Lands. So if he is as devout of a Christian as he sounds like he is, based on everything he said to Reverend Germa, it would stand to reason that he would go on a pilgrimage to the Holy Lands. And I would, if I were going to do that, I would probably swing by Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of, if not the oldest Orthodox church in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
I went to some Orthodox Coptic churches in Alexandria.
Did you?
Oh, yes, I did.
How was that?
It was cray, bro.
I'm going to need some specificity there.
Okay. It was cray because, well, there had been a lot of terrorist attacks in Egypt in that year that I went and the year before, which, of course, I was unaware of until I got there, and everything was very, very tense atmosphere. Anyway, and I was wearing an abaya, which is like the Muslim garb that women wear.
Okay.
That looks kind of like a judge robe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was wearing a abaya and a hijab, just so as not to stand out too much.
Right.
And I didn't even wear a hijab when I lived in Saudi Arabia, but I wore it there because it just seemed to be a very, very tense environment.
Yeah, best not to provoke anything.
Right, or stand out. And so I really wanted to go, as a Christian, I didn't actually go there for like a pilgrimage. I went there to visit my friend who's Egyptian, but I wanted to go check out these very old Coptic Orthodox churches. And so I went, and they're hidden. First of all, it was very difficult to find. And then second of all, when I finally found it, I had to go through 2 metal detectors to get in. Come to find out, they had recently been bombed.
Oh, yikes.
Like 6 months before. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I had to go through 2 metal detectors, and I had to take off my abaya. Of course, I was wearing clothes underneath. I mean,
okay,
it's not like they made me get naked or something. But
stripped down to as God made you.
Right. The way you came out of the womb.
Now.
Yeah, and it was a whole community. It was like a whole neighborhood block that was just where the Coptic Orthodox Christians lived, in their own little neighborhood block, which was behind walls and metal detectors.
So like almost like a compound.
Yeah,
of some
it was a
kind.
compound. Mm-hmm.
Or we had a word for that. What was it? Enclave.
It was an enclave.
Yeah.
Yes, it was an enclave of Coptics in the middle of Alexandria.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
that would be tense. Yeah.
Well, once I was in there, I mean, it was still tense because this guy was following me around, and then I had folded up my abaya and put it like in my bag, and he came up to me and he was like, "Where's your abaya? I saw you wearing an abaya. Where the hell is your abaya?" Of course, he didn't say it like that, but he was very stressed.
Yeah.
And
he thought you were some sort of like sleeper agent or a spy or something.
I think he was afraid that I had a bomb in my abaya and that I'd like deposited it somewhere within the compound. This is with the feeling that I got.
So
and I was like, "It's right here." And he took it and unfolded it and shook it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he was like, "I'm going to take you to see the head priest guy." And I was like, "Okay." And so he took me down to the basement underneath the cathedral. And there was this old priest sitting there at his desk writing shit. And the guy was like, this is a foreigner. She's American. She just came here. And the priest kind of like looked up at me and was like, Sup? It almost was like Willy Wonka.
He's like, "Sup, dog?"
Yeah. No, it was like Willy Wonka, when he's at the end, when he's at his desk writing.
Oh, yeah.
And then Charlie approaches him. It was like that. And he looked up at me and he was just like, "Okay."
What do you want me to do?
So, like, he did not care at all. But this other guy was like, I got the feeling this other guy was super paranoid.
Yeah.
Which for good reason.
Yeah, especially if they were bombed not too long ago.
Right.
I could see a healthy amount of paranoia could go a long way towards not being bombed again.
Exactly.
Possibly, hopefully. Yeah.
It was a weird moment.
It sounds weird.
Moments.
It sounds stressful.
But it was fun. I love the shit out of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Weird shit.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. It was amazing.
Yeah, that really does sound very intriguing. Very memorable.
Very memorable, very epic. And all the little kids wanted to take pictures of me with me.
Because you white?
Yeah.
Or you American?
Yeah.
Did they ask to hear your funny accent?
No.
No?
They just were like, oh, a weirdo in the compound.
A weirdo.
Yeah.
Come take a picture with us.
Yeah. And they
You
just went,
weirdo.
yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. The end.
Fascinating.
Anyway, so I do really, really like the setting of this story.
Yeah.
This excites me and is the type of thing that I love and would love to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like the introspective nature of the story, and that we're getting a lot of the insights of this main character and a lot of his internal thinkings and his internal struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of looking for his foil, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's Reverend Gurma.
Ooh.
At least it feels like we're being set up for that. So
Mhm.
I'll be curious.
Same.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay. And up next, we have Walker by Faith with Ray Reaches Out.
The Ray.
Oh, Ray.
Ray, hey.
So, hey, Ray. What'd you think of Ray here?
Well, okay, so this took a dark turn.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dark turn to me was seeing inside of Sam's psyche. That was a lot of S's. Seeing inside of Sam's psyche.
That is.
Seeing inside of Sam's salacious psyche.
Ooh, Sam's salacious
Psychological state.
Psychological state of sentience.
Yes.
Oh, God.
So this, I was like, okay, so Sam is not, he's not just this clueless innocent, I guess. Because I always kind of saw him as kind of innocent, except for that he's kind of lazy.
Yeah.
You know, but after this, I'm like, okay, Sam is kind of fucked up.
Well, yeah, and to a degree that I feel like a lot of people have a tendency to be kind of fucked up in their own head, because we're in Sam's POV for the first time. We actually are in Sam's head.
Yes.
So he was kind of at an advantage because we hadn't been inside his head. So we hadn't seen the internalities of Sam and what goes on through his head. But you're right. He has some pretty fucked up things going on through his head, but he also reacted against them in most cases.
But listen, when I say he's fucked up, I'm not even talking about the fucked up rapey thoughts he had.
Okay.
I'm not even talking about that.
Okay.
I'm talking about the fact that he did not untie Ray.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is the act of a psycho. Or somebody who's got severe problems.
I saw it as a form of codependence.
With
Max. Yeah. He will go so far out of his way to defend and uphold his commitment to Max in their marriage that they have built together. And so he'll just do whatever for Max. But you can really see that it's straining for him.
Yeah.
This is tough for Sam to do.
It is, but I don't know what percentage of people would, even codependent people, would allow somebody to be tied up in their basement, even whenever their spouse is away and they have an opportunity to free this person. I don't know how many people would do that. My mother, extremely codependent, okay? But if I had somebody tied up in my basement, she would absolutely free them. And then
even if it meant you would go to jail or prison?
Yes.
Okay.
She would not. And she's like one of them. I mean, she's very codependent. Okay.
So that I feel like that's the distinction that we're setting up is Sam wants to untie Ray, but he doesn't want Max to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So he's presented with what to him is an impossible choice. And he chooses the devil that he knows, Max, over the devil he doesn't.
Well,
what will happen to Max if Ray is released? So,
but I argue that the reason he chooses the devil he knows is because there's also part of him that wants this to happen.
Yeah,
that is tipping him over the edge.
We get clues that runs through his head. As far as what his actual reasons are for not untying Ray, it's not entirely clear. We do get moments of, there it is, yikes. Sam was ashamed of the fact that even in this situation, his mind kept envisioning getting Rey pregnant the natural way. Highlighted that, yikes, dude. Fucking yikes.
Yeah.
Like that is a fucked up thing. He promised himself, he knows he's not that guy, and then questions it. Am I? So yeah, we're twisting Sam up in a way that we haven't seen Sam because we're in his head. So we were able to leave him in this kind of innocent pile.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't heard this line of thinking.
Yes.
Although he did kind of let it slip a couple times, with that that recording, quote unquote, that we got of the conversation between Max and Sam. And he's like, well, I just want to do it the natural way.
Well, yeah.
It's like, even if that was a joke, he's still thinking about it.
But he said he wanted to do it the natural way, but not at that point, we were not talking about having Rey tied up.
Right.
Right. And so this actually made me think to myself and wonder, yes, I know S&M and all that, but all of those things are, if you're actually into that, it's preferably consensual.
Yeah, entered into voluntarily.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And so, okay, I'm definitely not going to go into too much detail here, but every relationship I've been in, the guy gets pissed off if I even start to doze off. Like, he does not want, it's a kind of a turnoff for a normal person, I think.
Yeah, and
for the
good
other
reason.
person, yes,
yeah.
For the other person to be not into it.
Right.
So if I am drunk and start like napping, then it's like, all right, really? Okay, fuck you.
Yeah, whatever.
But not literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started asking myself, how common is it to literally really want or being kind of excited by the idea, like he is, of getting her pregnant the natural way as she is tied up in the basement?
We don't know that he would do this while she is tied up. So, okay, I'm just going to I think I'll put my own little bow on this and say, Sam is having what I would consider natural thoughts for a dude.
Okay.
Fantasizing about a really beautiful woman.
Right.
In that regard, this is completely natural. I can completely understand it. If he's fantasizing about it with her tied up and not offering consent, that is 1,000,000% fucked up.
That's what I'm talking about.
So the context of his fantasy, I feel, is important, and it's also absent.
Yes. So that's why whenever the first time he said, I want to do it the natural way, when he was joking or whatever, quote unquote joking, that I did not find strange at all.
Maybe a little crass, a little crude, but not
a little bit not cool to say to your wife,
right?
But totally natural. But then in this context, when he's like, he kept thinking about doing it the natural way, and this is him, in my opinion, picturing Rey tied up in the basement. That is when I was like, whoa, wait a second. Hey, but if that's a normal thing in human nature, I know that it happens, obviously, because we have criminals who are into that kind of thing. But how normal is it? How common is it? I obviously don't know.
Right. And I feel like all of this whole interaction between Sam and Rey is setting us up for another point of view story from Rey. Something to give us a little bit more of her backstory. Because I feel like she's gearing up to tell Sam about why she has such a problem with adoption in the first place. And it seems to be revolving around her adopted brother. She has some trauma, some baggage there that revolves around the institution of adoption. And two, I feel like this is setting up a romantic relationship between Sam and Rey. Because it seems like Sam is really starting to latch on to Rey, even though he describes her personality as grating. Right.
Well, but until she's showing her real personality, her in her desperate state is making him more attracted to her because she's dropping that facade.
Yeah, she's losing the mask. She's dropping the pretense.
Right.
She's showing her true self,
which he seems to prefer.
Right. And considering what we've seen of Rey before, I can understand that.
Right, of course.
Because Rey, yes, was, to be polite, grating. To be frank, it was utterly exhausting.
And To be candid, obnoxious.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Ray is a bit obnoxious. So seeing her strip all of that away and just get down to, okay, this is Ray.
Yeah.
She's not as bad.
No, I prefer her tied up.
Yeah. This this Ray, who is under extreme duress, really seems to have more of her shit together. Which I could understand why Sam is like, I've never met this person before.
Right.
This person is okay. And so I feel like we're setting up exactly what I said before. And lastly, I think we're setting up Sam betraying Max at some point. So
yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I also kind of had a feeling that could be where this is going. Yeah. Max is trash.
Yes. Proven by the last part of this story.
Right.
Maxine Hollingsworth sat at her desk. Oh God, Max is terrible. Know her, Max thought. I've got her locked in my basement, buddy, but what can I do for you? Max had to clamp her right hand to her mouth to stifle the neurotic laugh that threatened to escape.
Yeah.
She has lost it.
She's lost her shit. Maybe she never had it. She's just showing it for the first time.
Possibly. Also under duress. Also starting to show her true colors.
Yeah,
maybe.
This is so far, in this episode, this is a tale of falling facades.
Yeah.
We suddenly see Ray for not the ditzy bimbo that she portrays herself. We see Max for the fucking psycho that she really is deep down. And we see Sam for the sadist that he may be.
Possibly.
Because also in this part, it says where he's like, am I that person? Am I? It says Sam was ashamed of the fact that even in this situation, his mind kept envisioning getting Ray pregnant the natural way.
Yeah.
So that makes me
does
think,
kind of imply that fantasy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
So suddenly we see everybody, and now suddenly Ray is looking like the only normal one here. Maybe.
Yeah, and in the context of this story, normal has a lot of asterisks and disclaimers, and but yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, and I think you're also right. We're meant to draw some parallels between Ray and Max in the situations that we're in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're starting to see more of exactly who Max is, and it is utterly deplorable and just she's ugh.
Yeah. Because also I will say in Sam's defense that so far, who knows what's going to happen in the future,
right?
But so far, as you kind of mentioned earlier, even if he does have these like sadistic desires, and by sadistic, well, maybe I'm using that wrong, because sadistic is like what, according to what I've read, sadistic is deriving sexual pleasure from other people's pain. So I don't mean that. I mean sexually desiring somebody who against their will is what I mean. So maybe sadistic is the wrong word. Let's say rapey. Okay. So even if he does have these rapey desires, he so far up to this point is not acting on them. So to me, that makes him definitely more of a stand-up person than Max.
Right. Who is ready to just throw Sam at her and say, get her pregnant.
Right.
In the basement, you know, any and all means necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then continue to learn more about Max just at her, this is at her job. I can't stand Max. I'm waiting for her downfall.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for how is Max going to go down.
Right.
And I expect it will be dramatic.
Spectacular.
Thank you. That's the much better way to say it. And just the way that she treats a complete stranger over the phone is incredible. And she's also an idiot in her own way. She's got Ray tied up in the basement and she's got the boyfriend on the phone. And this is the way that she treats this person who is actively looking for Ray. She's raising all kinds of red flags for this person to be like, hey, I talked to Maxine Hollingsworth and she seemed rather defensive.
Right.
Might be worth talking to her. It's like she's an idiot in her own way.
Yeah.
And she's also just sociopathic through and through. Oh shit, Max thought this is the new boyfriend. I hate to tell you this, Hayden, but Ray can be a little flaky. And this was her way of saying like all these horrible. Okay, just this paragraph pretty much sums up Like, I tell you that if you want to catch an STD, keep seeing Ray. Or I tell you that she's likely not answering because her phone is on silent on some other guy's nightstand.
Mhm.
Or I just tell you that she's a hoe and you deserve better. Of course, I can't say those things because I neither know you nor know if you do, in fact, deserve better.
Mhm.
What a shitty thing to say to a complete stranger.
Well, yeah, but also reading that interaction, it made me think Max is kind of smart.
Okay,
that was
she laid out all these things.
the way that she was just like, she's a good actor. She's
Okay,
like, maybe you
okay.
do deserve that kind of behavior. You know, like it just made me think she's pretty cunning.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
not just a sociopath. She's a cunning sociopath.
Yeah, you're right. And it's, despite how horrible the things that she is saying are,
Mhm.
it is still well said.
Yeah.
But yeah, Max sat back in her chair smiling and realized that the line had gone dead. I just thought that the way that we ended this is a great way to leave us with the emotions that you want us to be feeling about your characters.
Mm-hmm.
We are left with with Ray about to tell Sam about this relationship that she had with her adopted brother and the baggage and things that may come from that, and Sam actively listening to that.
Yes.
So we're left with these complicated emotions about them, and then we're just left with this very clear, just disgust for who Max is.
Mm-hmm.
So you've certainly got us all on the same page.
Yeah.
So now I'm just curious where we're
What's
going.
gonna happen?
What's gonna happen? Genuinely very curious. Very curious.
Same.
All right. What else you got?
That's all I got for that.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you,
Excellent.
Walker by Faith.
Yes. Thank you. Muchly.
Okay. And our last story this week is by Richie Posier.
Richie Posier.
With another entry from his story with Nick.
Right. So before we delve into this, I'd like to address some comments
Okay, go
by
ahead.
Richie. Okay. So Richie, you said, I guess I'm sorry for the way that interaction came off between Nick and his mom. And I want to say no apologies. That's a very valid point that you make about cultural differences. No apologies. Like, I mean, yeah, being aware of how maybe a Western audience would read something, is one thing, but I like that you're putting in these other perspectives because that's how we learn. We don't understand. We ask questions, we question things, and then we learn, So I think that that's great. And also, that whole conversation about Southeast Asia and biting thighs and all that stuff. Did you read all that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. It really reminded me of Mongolia. And I don't remember if it was Richie or who was the other person saying stuff in the comments.
Walker.
Yeah, I don't remember who was saying this, but it reminded me of whenever I lived in Mongolia and
and Steve.
And Steve.
Yeah, they had their adopted child from Ethiopia.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so the smelling thing, they don't, like with their babies, for example, they don't kiss, they smell. So that one of them mentioned something like that, like doing a suction or something, but you just put your nose against their cheek and just like inhale. And that's the kissing. And not only with babies, but with like lovers, And that's definitely a different thing culturally. And also there's stuff that like I would tell my mom about and she'd be like, what the fuck? That's fucking weird. Only my mom would never say the F word, but that's what she meant. For example, they flick the penises of 3-year-old boys.
Just so long as you're 3 years old, you're subject to having your penis flicked.
Pretty much.
Wow.
At a holiday, but it's at a special holiday.
Okay. Yeah, that's weird. That's strange.
Okay, well, it's strange to us, but
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and they do other things that I won't mention because I feel like it could offend the audience. But things that are not sexual at all, but in our Western minds would be considered sexual.
Yeah. I appreciate you lending context to that. Yes, it was a little odd at the time. Within the story, I felt like it's easy to just read by it. I do think we were kind of fair game there because we were set up like we had an explicit real location of San Antonio.
Oh yeah.
And so it felt like we're in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have that location and a lack of other cultures being represented, we have names, we have Moira, we have Nick, we have Jess, we have all these very simple American names.
Yes.
It felt within context to make that, to understand that could be a little strange.
Right.
But I also realized that we're probably catching this all in the middle. So we might have known more about these characters and their culture going into this. They may not be from Texas. They may not have been raised on American culture, despite maybe being American natives. Like who knows the circumstances behind how they arrived at that moment. Yeah. But considering the context that we had, I do think that it was a little fair game to say that struck us as a little strange. And it honestly led to a little strife between Rachel and I last week.
Yeah, we had a fist fight.
Had a little tiff. It was fine.
Matt won, but I held my own.
We're here now, and so I really do actually appreciate you giving context to that.
Yes,
and it really does clarify a lot.
Yes.
So just I guess just thank you.
Yeah.
No, not even I guess. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
We don't guess thank you. We thank you.
We do thank you.
And again, no. Fuck apologies.
Yeah, no apology.
Fuck that. Yeah, no apologies.
I actually really appreciate you unwrapping that taboo. Like you just get rid of that. I hate taboos in general anyways. And so just showing that there are other ways for families to be physically like enjoying each other's company. Right. In a very just normal way. I love that. I love getting more of that. I love understanding more about cultures and the way that they interact with one another. I love that. So don't be discouraged from bringing things like that to us.
Keep it, because also like you don't want I want you to keep bringing new perspectives, and I also want us to keep reacting to new perspectives, because you don't want your audience to be completely homogenous. Like you don't want your audience to be on the exact same page as you and to understand exactly where you're coming from in every situation, because you want to give something new to your audience. Yeah.
It's that balance of what your audience expects versus what they do not expect. Yeah. You have to have enough of what they do expect that they can relate to it, but enough of what they don't expect that they can still learn from it. Learn and engage and, and grow from it.
And evolve.
Yeah. 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 So I would say if you are going to do like what you did and start bringing in other cultures, especially to an American audience like that, we're going to continue to react as Americans in that regard. So if we find something a little strange, just know that that's how we perceive it, I suppose. And so if you're trying to engage with an American audience, this is kind of what you would expect. Yeah. How they would react.
Exactly. So I feel like as long as we just continue being open and honest with each other and giving each other new things to think about, new ideas, we're winning.
We're all better for it.
We are all better for it.
Yes. Yes. All right.
That being said, let's delve into this week's story.
Yes. Yeah. So we get essentially picking up exactly where we left off, and Nick leaving, and we get his physical reaction to having told his family that he's going off into this credit redemption, indentured servitude, work camp, whatever. Yeah. So his physical reaction as he left, it really hit him. He had to pull over to the side of the road and threw up. That just, I felt like that was a really good inclusion because it shows how worried Nick is. Yeah. And you hit us with that right at the end of paragraph 2. And you just continue to push this narrative of this is a very bad idea. This is a horrible, horrible choice. Why would you do this? Yeah. And then we get so much context for how he made that choice. An ATM. He was able to push a button. Yeah. And condemn himself to a life of indentured servitude.
Yeah. And that sounded very relatable.
Right.
Very relatable.
Oh, that's creepy. The
Yeah.
dystopia
Yes,
of that.
that's the exact word I was just thinking. This is a dystopian exaggeration, caricature of our actual culture.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This really sinks it in
Yeah.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
You're just at an ATM and you can make this decision.
Right.
That is horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was brought up by the principal just how much that is playing on the weak,
The impulses
and the impulsive nature that, especially around money, people get so weird around money.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can really draw people into this program. Oh, that's creepy. That's so creepy. It's terrifying.
It hits pretty close to home.
It really does. So I'm more fascinated by the premise of this whole series now that I know how simple it is to fall into this.
Yeah. And I was really fascinated by the conversation with the principal and how he's like, yes, that's why they do that. Like, we can't get away from this. We can't get out of this. This is our, fate. We are supposed to, they have it set up to where we are going to be in debt for the rest of our lives, basically. And that is exactly what our society's like.
Yeah. Yeah, for most of us. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're unless you're like a trust fund person.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But otherwise, like, if you want to do the things, then you have to borrow money.
Yeah. You're either in debt to somebody or somebody is indebted to you. Like, the whole culture and society and economy is based around debt.
Yep.
And its collections. Yeah.
I think that part's funny where it's like the principal goes off on this long, like, diatribe, and then the first thing that Nick says in response is, "Mom called me stupid."
Yeah.
That's that. I guess that reminded me of myself. I would like be told all this like really valuable information, and I would only take one very irrelevant thing from it.
Yeah.
Mom called me stupid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just the whole dialogue between the principal and Nick was it's perfect.
Yeah.
It just feels very human.
Very relatable.
Very relatable. And also just the kind of escalating nature of the way the principal is speaking to Nick. It just gradually climbs and climbs and climbs, and then he's shouting and he has to bring himself. He's like, no, I can't, like, I can't talk to you like that. I really liked those touches and just how you can see how upset the principal is by the decision that Nick made.
Yes.
No, strong-willed is what she said on the phone, but stupid is as apt a word as any. Yeah. I really like the principal.
I do. He seemed Principal Winthrop. He seems like a great guy.
Yeah. Kind of a no nonsense, no bullshit kind of guy.
Right. He reminds me of Mary Tyler Moore's boss.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Oh God, what's the actor's name?
I don't know.
Oh, that's gonna kill me. Now I have to look it up.
I would have never even begun to know that.
Ed Asner.
Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Yeah, the principal reminds me of Ed Asner.
Lou Grant. Yeah.
Yes, Lou Grant. We're not that old, guys. We just watched
Nick at Night.
Nick at Night.
Yeah.
Nick at Night, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Well, I guess that does kind of mean we're old now.
Yeah, because that was a thing when we were growing up. Yeah.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, it dates us.
Yeah, that's okay. So, and it's like, it's a giant zoo and we are the animals. So true. So true.
Yeah. And we're not supposed to be able to beat it. They own us.
Uh-huh.
It's so upsetting because of how real it is. This is just taking it to an extreme.
Right.
And so what I really would read the rest of this story. This is fascinating, especially whenever you consider the combat trials that were mentioned by Uncle Benny and the indentured servitude, which we've gotten a scene from kind of what that looks like with, it was in the mine, and Carla was another character, and just that whole interaction. And then we had another one with them. It was the music prompt. and they're sitting there talking about how they own us, like our debt defines us.
Was it the
and
music box?
That was the piano song,
Okay.
and somebody was playing a piano
Oh,
at
yeah,
that time.
yeah.
But looking back on those stories, knowing this information, I'm fascinated about this story.
Yeah, it definitely gives depth to the story.
It really does, and the kind of piecemeal nature that we've gotten it so far just makes me all the more curious about it. So, you've got me hooked, and I want to know more about it. Also,
Same.
I saw the word guffaw in here, and I love that.
Guffaw.
It's so good.
That's a good word.
I love guffaw. This was met with a guffaw so loud it startled him, and he nearly spilled the coffee on his shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the end where the principal's like, long vacation, my ass.
You're gonna get crucified out there.
Yeah, but the ass part reminded me of this one comedian, who is Ismo, and he's from like, I don't know, where is he from? Netherlands or something? Oslo, Norway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's like, talking about learning English and how ass is the most complicated word in the English language. Yeah. Because
yeah, I could see that.
Yes, because it's like, you're an ass. Okay, that means that you suck. He's like, when I first came to America, I thought ass meant a butt. But turns out I was wrong. He's like, ass means like you're stupid, you suck. He's like, then my ass means no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
my
long
ass,
vacation, my ass.
Yeah.
But your ass means all of you. Like, move your ass. It means move your whole self, not just your ass. And then also you can use ass as like as an adjective, like, look at this new red ass shirt I bought just to make anything seem cooler. And then you can divide it. If you half-ass something, it means you're not applying yourself. But if somebody is a piece of ass, that means they're beautiful. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Only when he delivers it, it's much more funny.
No, it's that's wonderful.
Yeah, so good.
And yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, ass is a complicated word,
right?
With a lot of complicated meanings.
Yeah,
and I imagine fuck isn't much better,
right?
Yeah, just expletives in general have a diverse use.
Yeah,
yeah.
Did you know that fuck actually comes from the Latin facio, which means to do or to make?
Ah,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that a root maybe for fabricate?
No.
No?
It's fuck.
It would be faber?
Facio, facere. And even still in Romanian, it means do. Like cifac means what are you doing? Or like, what's up?
Huh.
Kifak. That's Arabic. But cifac. And then fac in Romanian, it's still, which is of course the Latin derived language, it's still used as fac is do. Like, what are you doing? You know? And used to referring to sex as fucking was not considered a bad word. Yeah. But then because of, its commoner status, like commoners would say it to mean having sex, then it became vulgar. Because it's...
So we took a perfectly normal word and wrapped it up in taboo again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first, guys. Fuck is not an expletive.
It's not a bad word. Yeah. You can say it to anybody.
Anybody, anywhere, all
at
the time.
At all times.
Yeah.
You're not going to get in trouble. And if you do, tell them to come talk to us.
Yeah. youwritepod@gmail.com.
That's right.
Yeah. No phone numbers.
Nope.
Just email us. We'll get back to it.
Don't give them our addresses.
I was just imagining getting a phone call. We have Richie Posier here. He told us to call you.
We have a Richie Posier. He said, I don't know.
Yeah. But Richie, this is a fascinating story. I really enjoyed this dialogue between Nick and the principal.
Mm-hmm. As did I.
And
as did I.
I'm really liking this.
Me too.
Yes. All right, everybody. That's our last story for this week.
That's it.
That is it. Are you looking at something?
No. Why would you say that?
Are you tuning out right now?
No.
No?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, okay.
No, I would never do that. Especially not at this point in the podcast. Okay, I was.
Okay, so you're lying too.
Well, yeah, but I was looking for, I don't remember who made the comment about the adjective party.
Walker.
Yeah,
Walker by Faith mentioned that,
Right, but Walker, I'd like to make one small correction there, which is that we settled on that it can be an adjective.
We just provided a very bad example.
I did say party Mexican.
You did, which is a Cards Against Humanity card.
It is a Cards Against Humanity card, and it is the same way that Walker was using it in his examples. Yeah. And you're right, Walker, we overlooked a vast trove of examples, such as party favor, party bus, whatever it was that you mentioned. Yes, we did. But I would like to set the record straight and say that we did settle on the fact that it can be an adjective.
Yeah, we just didn't find a very good example for it. You know what was funny is after we had recorded that the next day, I was like, oh my God, yes, it can be an adjective. And the fact that it took so long to get there. But the example that I thought of, okay, growing up, we had poodles. My family had poodles. And there's a type of poodle, because it's like you have black poodles, you have white poodles.
Yeah. I know there's standard poodles.
Well, yeah, we had standard poodles.
Which is big ass poodles.
They're big old poodles, yeah.
Big ass.
But if there's a white and black poodle, it's called a party poodle.
Oh.
It's just a mixture of all these colors.
A peroodle.
Sure.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, a party poodle.
Oh.
That was the example I thought of.
That's cute.
Party poodle.
Oh.
Yeah, our first poodle's name was Pierre.
Well,
no, actually, we had a miniature poodle. Her name was Ariel.
Oh.
My sister named her. Then we had Pierre. Then there was
Pierre is so cute.
Cherie.
Mm-hmm.
And Andre are the two pups that they have now.
Cute. My friend Levi would have me come over to his house so that his poodle could maul me. He was like, it's so cute. If you just on the floor, she'll just attack you. And it's just so cute. And so I would go over there just to get mauled by his poodle.
Oh,
it's just cute.
That's adorbs.
It's so cute.
So cute.
Anyway,
we needed to address the party adjective. Right. Yeah, I didn't. As I was reading that comment, I was like, "Oh my God, we look like foos."
No, as I said at the beginning, we settled on the fact that it can be an adjective.
Yeah, despite the dictionary saying no, party is not an adjective.
Well, fuck the dictionary. I said it from the beginning that it can be an adjective, and so. Did we come up with good examples on the spot? No, we didn't.
No.
Did I not prepare in advance? No, I didn't.
And actually, I'm actually kind of endeared to the definitions aspect of our thing because we do not remotely prepare definitions or examples. No. We just hit it as it flies at us.
Off the cuff,
Off the cuff. And speaking of all of that, I realized last week I forgot to give you guys your proper shout outs. So thank you, NickedYou, for being selected here today. Also, we've got Steve Living Room, Walker by Faith, and Richie Posier. Hey, thanks, guys, for sticking through the long form story. And thank you so much for your submissions. This has been, I realize this is more writing than 30 minutes. And we are going back to that in December. So if we've got other listeners out there wondering if we're ever going to go back to normal, we are.
The answer is yes.
Yes, in December, we absolutely will.
After November, we'll be going straight back.
Yes.
And also thank you to
Prismatics19
for your comment, just telling us like where you're at and what you're dealing with. I like the community aspect of our podcast. And the fact that we can, just pop in and say things that are going on in our lives. So yeah. And we appreciate that. And we are sending all of our positive vibes your way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And to your wife as well.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry to hear you're having a hard time of it right now.
But, I fucking get it.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's a time.
Yep.
And it is now.
Yep.
But no, seriously, Prismatics 19. Thank you so much for just even checking in.
Mhm.
I imagine we're like a book club, but the other way.
Mhm.
We're like
An anti-book
a
club.
writers club.
Oh yeah.
So it's like instead of just getting together to talk about books, we get together and talk about our
writings.
writings.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like an online book club.
That is what we are.
Yeah, but we're not talking about
But the
books.
opposite.
Yeah, we're
Talking about writings.
writings.
Right.
But not books.
No, not the things that you read, but the things that you
will
etch
read
and will be read by yourself and others.
Well, all right. That moves us into episode 16.
16.
So for episode 16, we asked you guys to, well, continue your long form stories here. And if you need an inspiration or a prompt, or if you're not interested in
inspiration.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not interested in doing a long form story, you're absolutely welcome to submit a short story, just like in weeks past. Set yourself a 30-minute time limit. You got 5 words there, and the prompt is to write a phone call. I thought that was really interesting because it's a kind of intimate dialogue.
Yeah, it's a different kind of dialogue.
Yeah, and there's so much that you can do. You can be in, well, obviously, like anything else, you can be in first person, third person. You can be in one person's setting, and this person is listening to the phone conversation, and you also get the environment around the person who is a part of this phone call. It can be this, there's so many cool things that I think you can do with a phone call.
There are several.
And I just thought that was fascinating. So maybe think about writing a phone call. Since it's long form month, obviously you can stick to whatever premise you're working on, but yeah, I thought that would be interesting.
And it's a whole different like kind of language that you use. Actually, in the month-long like intensive English workshop that I teach at sometimes, that's one of the activities is to write and perform a telephone conversation. And they did all kinds of different things. Like sometimes they would just like have a phone and like hold it up to one ear and then like switch it to the other ear to be like, I'm a different person. Sometimes they would have like one of those smiley face pillows and put it up against their face.
That's cute.
I know. And then take it off and then be another person or something like that. But it's a whole nother skill set. Like doing a phone call is a whole nother linguistic skill set.
Yeah. 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 And you're right. There's very specific language that goes along with a phone call. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And the words to accompany this prompt are, you ready for these?
Yeah.
Labyrinth, Vortex, Ember.
Wow.
Zephyr.
What?
And Relic. Sorry, Relic. Man. Yeah. You got us a definition for Labyrinth.
Yeah. A labyrinth. It's a maze.
Yeah.
It's a maze.
Yeah, it's a maze.
It's a maze. Well, interesting thing I've learned about Labyrinth is that, guys, my word's not really working very well today.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, same. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say, yeah, I've noticed that about
yeah,
you.
You're really struggling.
You're
right
struggling?
No, I am too.
Okay. And also when I'm typing today, like I keep making the first 2 letters capitalized. And I started thinking, do I have a disease? Am I ill? Why does this keep happening?
It turns out the shift key on your computer is actually just sticky.
Right. Anyway, Labyrinth, I have found that this is the only way I can describe the word maze to people in other languages. Because, all right, I'm totally full of shit right now. In Latin languages, they use something like labyrinth instead of maze. So if you want to talk about mazes to somebody in a Latin language, try to do a variation of labyrinth.
Yeah. And a famous labyrinth was the one built by Icarus and Daedalus?
No, it was built by King Minos.
Yeah, King Minos
employed
Icarus and Daedalus.
You're right.
To
I'm
build
sorry that I just spoke to you in an unkind way. You're totally right. They built that shit. They were employed. They built it for King Minos.
And his bastard son, or no, it's not his son, it's his wife's bastard child
son,
with Poseidon.
What Pacify was her name, I believe. Yeah. Pacify. And she she had a baby with not with Poseidon, with a bull that Poseidon had come out of the ocean.
Right. Yeah, it was
And-
meant to be a sacrifice to
Yes.
Poseidon. And out
that
of that is
bull
born.
came out and
Yeah.
Pasiphae fell in love with it due to a curse
Yeah.
from, was it
I think
Aphrodite?
I think the curse was from Poseidon because it was
Oh,
meant
it
to be
was
sacrificed
from
to Poseidon.
Okay.
I think Minos kept it
A-
because he didn't want to, because it was like a perfect bull or something.
Yeah. And then Pasiphae fell in love with it and boned it,
Mm-hmm.
or got boned by it.
Right.
And she had Daedalus, or was it Icarus, build a contraption by which she could bone the bull.
Oh, that I did not know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which one was the father? Daedalus, right? Yeah, Icarus was the son that died.
Yes.
Yeah, so she had Daedalus build for her a contraption by which she could have intercourse with the bull.
Yikes.
Yep.
Okay.
And she got pregnant and she had none other than our very own
Asterius.
Minotaur.
Yep.
Yes. And wait, why are we talking about that? Oh yeah. And then and then Daedalus, and maybe with the help of Icarus, built the labyrinth
Yeah.
for the Minotaur to live in, and they fed him humans.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of stories and lore and obviously mythology around the Minotaur. We're currently playing a D&D campaign, and I'm playing Asterius the Minotaur.
Oh.
And he's actually a wizard.
Oh. Does he wear a wizard hat?
He wears a wizard robe and carries around a staff, and he has 0 social skills.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, he lives in a labyrinth by himself.
Yeah, he did. My premise behind it was he actually, like, Daedalus or Icarus, one of them left like a wizard staff in the maze for him to disguise himself and to make people think that he's killing all these people and so on, so on. And so he was just biding his time so he could get out.
Ooh.
He was going to get out so he could more or less learn how to fake his death so they would leave the maze open and he could leave.
No.
Which was my convoluted way of getting Asterius the Minotaur into this D&D campaign. So
Cute.
yeah.
I'm rooting for Asterius.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, you are him.
Okay. Next word, vortex.
Vortex. Okay. Vortex. Isn't this like a black hole?
Or like a whirlpool is a type of vortex.
Yeah, something that sucks you in.
A tornado is a type of vortex.
Something that sucks you in.
Oh my god, I do have to look this one up.
Spinning either air or fluid, which has suction powers.
A mass of whirling fluid or air.
Am I a genius?
Especially a whirlpool or a whirlwind. That's it. That's all there is.
Okay. Whirlwind.
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 All right. Next is Ember.
Okay. Ember. This is one of my favorite words in the English language,
It's
actually.
a delightful word. Very poetic word.
So good. I would, if I were to ever have a child, I would like to name it Ember. Ember is a glowing char.
Yeah, I think of bits of a campfire that come flinging off of it when the wood like pops, little embers go flying.
They glow. They're hot.
Yeah.
They hurt.
Yeah.
When they touch you.
Coal embers. Yeah. Like a dying fire. You see the glowing coals. Yeah. Embers.
Yeah. I love embers.
I just love like a good fire.
Same.
A good campfire. I'm not a pyromaniac. Are
you sure about that?
No,
Matt?
no, I'm not. I've never been inclined to burn anything down.
Okay. What about burn something up?
Maybe. Maybe.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
All right. Next is Zephyr.
Okay. Zephyr is a west wind.
Yeah, it's literally a specific wind.
It's a light wind or a west wind. And wasn't Zephyr the name of one of Jacob's children in the Bible? Or am I wrong?
I don't know.
Like the brother of Joseph. Reuben and all them. Dan, Naphtali. feel like Zephyr was one of them. Jacob's sons in order. All right, we got Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali. That's not all of them. No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, guys. It's Zebulun.
Zebulun? Wow, that's a mouthful.
Zebulun. And then there was Naphtali. Maybe I was conflating Zebulun and Naphtali.
Well, I did find this. The name Zephyr is of Greek origin and means west wind. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The god Zephyrus.
Hmm.
Breeze controlled by the ancient god Zephyrus.
Cool.
Cool. Okay, last definition, relic.
A relic is like an artifact.
Yeah, just it's like old.
It's an ancient item.
Quite old.
Quite ancient. Which, by the way, listeners, I've got something very cool to tell you.
Mm.
One of my students, because I teach, have I mentioned that I teach people in Baghdad?
Yeah. Did they call you a relic?
No.
Okay.
They're like older than me.
Okay, good.
No.
I was about to be really upset for you.
Oh, thank you. No. They work at the what's it called? Embassy.
Okay.
The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. They're Iraqi, but one of them lives in Babylon. He's an archaeologist, and he is sending us pictures of new artifacts that he's uncovering every single day.
That's rad.
Listen. This is my fantasy life. I already told him, can we trade lives? But I want you to leave your wife so she can cook for me while I'm living in your house in Babylon. It's from 2000 BC ish.
Damn.
Artifacts. It's amazing. And you know what the most interesting thing he said last class? He said the artifacts smell amazing.
Really?
Yep. He said
like spice.
He didn't elaborate on it. I don't know if it's because he did not have the vocab to elaborate on it in English, or if he just couldn't even put his finger on it. But he said that they smell so amazing that it's his favorite smell in the world, and he wants it to be a perfume.
So if any of you are perfumers out there.
Yeah.
Scentologists. Not to be confused with Scientologists.
No, very different. No. Fuck that, man. Yeah. But if any of you are Scientologists, no hate.
But yeah, get on whatever that smell is of ancient artifacts and or relics.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds fascinating. Why I would never think like what would it smell like?
Well, I have no idea, but one of the other students was like, I know this is gonna sound crazy. She's in Baghdad. She's a judge, and she was like, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I feel like it would smell really good. And he's like, you have no idea. And that's the end of my story.
He's like, and actually, all of it just smells like cotton candy.
Oh, that would be disappointing.
That would be weird.
I want it to smell like ancient clay and earth and spice.
I imagine that probably is what it smells like. Yeah. I was thinking like some sort of like clay smell, like that wet earth and old wet earth smell. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a wonderful smell.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, relic. Those are relics.
Yeah.
If anyone is interested and you just say the word and I will post pictures of those relics, which he has sent me pictures of, which he has just uncovered from an ancient temple site.
Some sort of dig site, I assume?
Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And I'm having my students make videos also of a day in their lives. And he's making a video of his fucking archaeology exploits, and it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him. So happy for him. Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Jerk.
Ew. Also, you're going to hate to hear this.
Uh-huh.
But you're going to hate to hear this, but he's also really hot.
Okay.
I'm serious. He's got it all.
He's the full package.
He's the full package.
But he's married.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Well, if you want to be like these wonderful writers and submit your story to YouWrite, head on over to our subreddit at reddit.com/r/youwritepod.
Okay, and you know what? If you're unable to submit a story this week, that's fine. It's no whatever. It's Novel Bember. We get it. You can help out by reading and commenting on other people's stories, or even just checking in and being like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm busy this month.
Yeah. Just let us know what's up. Yeah. We like hearing from you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, each time you post a story or leave a comment on someone else's submission, you do increase your chances of having your story read on the podcast.
You can also reach us at youwritepod@gmail.com.
That also known as youwritepod@gmail.com.
Right. If you can't spell, it's youwritepod@gmail.com.
Which, if you can't spell, that's also an issue.
Right.
But either way, the link will be in the Reddit post.
There.
Yeah, it's there. If you're unable to, nope. If you like our show and want to help support us, maybe donate to our Patreon.
Patronus.
Maybe donate to our Patronus. Maybe donate to our Patronus at patronus.com/youwrite.
Oh, if you are unable to donate, that's just fine too. You can help us by sharing the podcast with other writers and non-writers alike.
And if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's, what are we even talking? This is episode 15.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I don't know.
So if you're not subscribed at this point, what are we even doing?
Also,
dear God, are you okay?
I just took a hard swallow.
Gross.
Yeah.
I'm cutting that.
Okay. Also, be sure to leave us a rating and review in your podcatcher of choice.
We will be reading one review on each episode, so get creative.
And remember, join us next week on You Write,
a podcast where you write.
Where
you write. See y'all next week. That was the outro, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh God, I didn't record any of that.
Are you serious?
No, I'm just kidding.